Hello, everyone. Today we are here with Johnny Black.
Hello, hello.
Is there anything you would like to say before we get started?
Um, Honestly, just if you could all do me a favor and maybe click the link in the description and maybe give my first attempt at writing a little look. It's not great, but have a go.
For those who don't know, or who haven't guessed, Johnny is a writer, so we have a bunch of writer questions for you.
Yay.
Which creepypasta do you wish you had been the one to write?
There are a lot of them. Like there's always going to be a lot of stories out there that you wish you thought of. But to be honest, the one that really stands out as something that I wish I'd written just because of how distinctly eerie it is the Diary of Mr. Weldon. Honestly, like I don't know what it is about that story. It's barely even a story; it's more a narrative. But it just the entire concept is just something that I really like. That sort of idea of something, you know, communicating that is just clearly not anything that you have experienced in your normal life, and something that you should hope you never actually meet. There was something about that story that really just hit the nail on the head for what I personally think is a good story, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, there's the obvious ones. We all wish we came up with you know the concepts of the more popular stories, and we'll always think that. But I don't know. Um, Pen pal, of course, but you're going to hear a lot about pen pal from me.
Who are your favorite creepypasta writers?
Hmm. I've always kind of been a fan of your man V Cava, Vincent V Cava. I know he's published now, so I don't know whether or not you can call him a creepypasta writer, but at the same time, his stuff's always consistently really, really good. Um, Always have admired Slime Beast. He does darn good work. Um, Off the top of my head, I can't really think of many that I know by name, but those would probably be the top two because all of their stuff has been consistently just good. It's been creepy. It's been well written. I haven't found anything. You know, there's literally nothing that if I was to be the one writing it, I would change. Even in the phrasing of sentences, it's just been good.
Where do you get your inspiration?
For the stuff I write, or to start writing in general.
For the stuff you write.
Um, Not to sound slightly crazy, but I've actually I based the original concept of the sort of creature from my series off of something that I myself have for a long time now had various sort of recurring dreams about. It's like that's the reason why the concept of the stories is that the main character is constantly, being, you know, his normal sleeping patterns are being disturbed by this thing that just does not seem to fit in with anything that he is used to experiencing. Whereas in my life, it's just a thing. It's just a normal nightmare for me. It's just because it's been happening for so long, I decided to use it. I had to use it for something, and it was either the inevitable writings in a file whenever I inevitably go completely insane and end up in an asylum, or this. So I decided to choose this. Um, from there, it just sort of evolved. Um, I sort of decided it would be a better idea to, instead of just writing it how it is, it just being this obscure, nonsensical thing that just happens to not go away. Um, I decided that, considering just because of how it looks and because of how it acts, I give it this fairly. The personality I tried to use for it was something that legitimately does not even seem to understand the sort of, you know, the experiences of those around it. Like it's, you know, it understands that, there are people here, there is a person in front of it, but the only thing it can think of is that this thing is a tool to be used. Honestly, I was kind of going for the ultimate sort of psychopathic tendency. That sort of, you know, you are here because I let you be here, and you are here to serve my will. Like I don't know. It just, from the way my experience with it has gone, it seems to be incredibly sort of cold. So I kind of went to try and instill that sort of feeling into it. So that was kind of where my inspiration for the series came from. This sort of obviously non, or obviously supernatural thing that just sort of by chance happened across this one child, and has decided that this is going to be its next target, just simply because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
How has writing changed you and your life?
In many ways, it's actually started to make me realize just how much I love it. Like, it's, whenever I started, it was more something just to pass the time, and now that I've worked with it more, and I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to feel you know more confident and more comfortable in my own writing style. It's started to become something that I legitimately would count as a passion. Like, it's given me something outside of the normal, like my normal day-to-day routine, that I can sort of do and feel proud of, and inevitably enjoy, even whenever it's legitimately feeling like a chore because I just don't know where to go with it. Even getting past that sort of emotional blockage of, I don't want to do this because I can't think of anything, in itself is feels like a conquest. It feels like something that I can, the fact that I was able to get over that, writer's block, for want of a better word, in itself feels like I've achieved something. So it's sort of the gift that keeps on giving, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Even whenever it's not giving in the slightest.
Which creepypasta are you most proud of writing?
At the minute, it's the third in the series. The last one I've managed to actually get up. Um, Simply to start off, it's the sheer length that I managed with it was something in itself that I'm ridiculously proud of. I mean, I have written full-scale college essays that are worth 50% of my overall grade for a module that were shorter than this, and that's probably the part of it that I'm most proud of, that I managed to get so much content into the one sort of installment in the series. Other than that, the fact like if you look at the first two, um, they're more expositional. Like they're more, they read more like a diary, if that makes any sense. Like they read very much like the main character is simply telling, and any dialogue that is in there is more to just sort of show how the situation is slowly but surely deteriorating and how the main character is slowly but surely spiraling along with it. But then whenever I got to the second one, or not the second one, the third one, it still reads like the same sort of style, like this expositional sort of diary entry account of what's going on. But on top of that, it has this massive characterization of the creature and how it's becoming more and more alive, and how it's slowly getting more and more confident in doing as the main character starts to deteriorate to the point at which it finds him malleable enough to sort of show its like what it intends to do with him. So I was able to get across, exactly how I want this thing to be seen as, something that has been around a very long time, and something that is, for all intents and purposes, this thing that can barely even be understood, let alone be reasoned with, and is thus virtually unstoppable. So if I was to pick a story that I'm the most proud of, it would be the third one, simply because of just how much characterization I was able to get across in it.
Why did you start writing?
Why did I start writing? I suppose it was because I started getting into the lurking on the creepypasta scene. Just, listening to narrations and reading them at 4 in the morning whenever everybody thought I was supposed to be in bed, and scaring myself half sleepless for the rest of the night. And I started to think it would be amazing if I could actually manage this, because I mean, if this is what these stories are able to instill in people, then this is definitely something that's interesting. And it's I've always wanted to try my hand at writing, because hell, it's something. I was never overly talented at art. I was never overly talented at you know any other craft. But I thought this is one of the things I haven't tried, and I tried it, and it was well received. And then I happened to send a link to my what do you call it? Send a link to that creepy reading, and he and a guy called Zavid Snail, who was a friend of his and someone who helped uh, him sort of curate his page. Um, they enjoyed it, and they decided to bring me into the community. And from the community, I slowly started to get more and more confidence in, that what I was doing was something that I could actually get immense amounts of enjoyment out of. So I that kind of inspired me to get writing more, and like actually, really get into it.
What is the earliest story you remember writing?
I remember whenever I was about 14, I wrote this story for my English class, and it was supposed to be this, single A4 sheet of, text that was based around a phrase. As here in Ireland, that's kind of how one section of the English examination goes. You choose a topic, and it could be various different things. It could be an essay or it could be a short story, and you write about it. So we were practicing, and I can't remember exactly what the phrase was, but I know that I ended up writing something along the lines of three A4 pages worth of. It was not exactly great. It had a lot of there were a lot of flaws. There was a lot of the story was fairly generic. It was based around this guy who um, worked at this sort of factory, and he found, or, his what do you call it? The factory got broken into, and someone was killed. And in the end, it turns out that through a series of sort of little discrepancies and clues that he finds, he actually traces it to his own brother. And there's um, he confronts him, and there's your obligatory fight scene, and then the police are called and all this. So it was a fairly sort of generic something that sounds like it came off as a soap opera, but at the same time, that's probably the earliest writing that I can remember doing that I actually that was actually not just a paragraph.
What creepypasta has made an impact on your life?
Anybody who knows me will know just how much I harp on about pen pal. Pen pal is something like that is something special. That is um, Yeah, probably pen pal. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I remember recently, actually over the summer, um, I was on a camping trip, and we were all around this big campfire, and someone decided that they wanted to start telling these campfire stories, and inevitably, like a few people turned and asked me to recite some story because they knew I was heavily into this kind of stuff, and I decided to try my hand at recounting the first part of Pen Pal, and fast forward to about half one, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've done the entire story of Pen Pal. Not paraphrasing. I didn't have it in front of me, but I had paraphrased the entire story of Pen Pal to the point at which we the fire had gone out and we were all sitting there shivering, and it was well received. But that's just how much of an impact that story has made on me to the point at which I remember it well enough that I can recite it like that. I could. It's probably the story that if I was to pick one that would have spurred me the most to actually give this stuff a try myself, Pen Pal would be it.
Where do you see yourself going with your writing career?
Um, well, I've tossed a few concepts around that could variably be like at least a novella. So I've always, I suppose, I don't really know where I see my writing going, but I know where I want it to go. And I've always had this little sort of idea in the back of my head where if I was to walk into the shopping centre in Derry City in Northern Ireland, and walk up to the bookstore that I always buy my books from, and see the little table they've got out in the front of it. It's an Eason's, like it's a big sort of mass bookstore, but they've got this table with all the new releases, and just to see a copy with my name on it, not like on a bestsellers list, not anywhere like that. Just if I was to just see, a bulk stack of books just sitting there that just happened to have my name on it. Like that's where I want my writing to go. I don't know whether or not it'll get there, but I'll give it a shot.
And we are on our last question. What
Yeah.
is a fun fact about yourself?
Oh God, this is the part I was dreading. A fun fact about me.
Yeah, oddly enough, this is the question that's hardest for people to answer.
I wonder why. Couldn't be anything to do with the embarrassment. Definitely not. A fun fact about me. Um, I suppose in keeping with the theme, um, I actually have a narration channel and have to date, despite the sheer amount of people who have been telling me to get up off my lazy ass and do something about it, have yet to put up any content. So there is a narration channel out there with my name on it, and it has all the fixings for a channel, bar the content at all.
Okay.
So yeah, I should probably get around to that.
Well, is there anything you would like to say before we wrap this up?
Um, all I can say is thank you, Gabby, for this. Like,
Yeah.
um, I know I'm not exactly well known as a writer, but um, well, I would hope that anybody listening would, you know, decide to give my stuff a look, and maybe if you enjoy it, drop a comment, drop a like, whatever. Maybe uh, spur me towards writing the fourth one finally.
Hmm.
So no, but all else, just thank you.
Well, it was definitely a pleasure interviewing you. In the description down below is a link to his first story, so definitely make sure you go check that out. And I guess that is it for right now. So bye, everybody.
Okay. See ya. Thanks.